Good afternoon, everybody. Hope you're all having a really great afternoon. This little cute little painting that I tried to do sort of impressionistic, and the way I did it was I put light washes on and then I did that for everything, and then added, kept adding layers. And in some areas where I wanted light, I took the color out and added color in, and then I took a spray bottle, and then once it had dried, sort of, I just took a spray bottle and sprayed it, moved it around a little bit, and then added some salt around in areas, and this is what I got. So I thought what we'd do is try this again. But what I'm going to do is, instead of on this small pad, I'm going to take a larger pad, excuse me, to use a larger pad, just see how I can work with a larger one. So basically, to do the same thing, what I did was I took a square brush, a flat brush, I mean, and I wet the sky like this, so that it's, a lot of this is just all wet on wet. So we're going to come about that far down to the sky, and you'll be able to see the sheen of the paper. And I'm going to take some blue with a little bit of, well, first we're just going to do the blue, I guess. This is some paper that I just bought that I'm sort of wondering if I'm going to like it. So we're going to use it for this. See how good it is. Seems to be nice so far. So what I'm doing here is just sort of blending in a nice sky here. I'm going to take a little bit of crimson and put it into a few areas. This is kind of basically what I did. Maybe take a little rose and put some up here, and then kind of bring it around a little. I don't know, kind of a funny texture going on to this. I'll tell you, without spending a lot of money, it's hard to find a decent watercolor paper for these, little exercise things. Okay, next what I did was I wet this area here, which I'm going to be using for the mountain area. So I just sort of wet that. It basically was a lot of wet on wet. So we're going to see how well this paper works with that. If not, I'll have to use some watercolor grounds on this paper too. All right, so I'm going to, and hopefully I don't get really allergy here, because I'm really dealing with some major allergies right now. And then we're just coming in here. And depending on, what color you want them and everything. Adding in some mountain ranges. Put a little blue color in there. I'm not able to take this out much, and I'm getting a lot of, oh, great. Well, anyway, we're going to continue to work with this and see what I can do with it. See what's going to happen. If nothing else, you'll all see along with me what not to buy next time, or what not to use. You see, the paper is coming up with a lot of water. Well, that's not good. Great. Now, I'm going to continue using this because I can actually utilize this happening to make it sort of appear, like it's appearing a little bit with this happening as texture. So I'm gonna keep working with this and see where we go with it. So anyway, we created the mountain ranges, the light ones, and So I'm going to leave that like that. And then what I did, I took some brown in with that, and I kind of got this area like this a little bit. These ones closer to us, to a little more brown, I guess you could say. Every time I do something, it's always a little different. So it is going to look a little different than what it does on the small one, but that's okay. There we go. That's a little bit better view there. And then I'm just going to, I'm not going to wet it a lot, and I'm going to use a lot of what's on my brush already and take some from, you know, what's up above there. Leave a little white here and there. So I'm going to have some light green and just a whole bunch of different colored greens and for the grass. So on one side we've got some greens, and on the other, whoops, I grabbed the wrong green. That's all right. That's okay. We'll go with it. Okay. So far we've got, you know, we're just, oh, I forgot to add, oh, hold on, folks. I'm paying more attention to the colors than I am my area to leave out for the water. Okay. Because right in the middle here, I just had a little section of water is what I was doing. We'll get this a little bit more wet and drag the colors around, because I'm just distributing all this around here. It really wasn't a big body of water at all. It was just a small little area of water. And this paper really is not doing all that great with water. So once again, it said that it would. You know, the reviews said it would. So much for reviews, right? Well, I can say I'm pretty disappointed with this paper. We're going to keep going anyway. I'm trying to do this. So we're just going to keep going. I'll show you the name of this paper when I'm done. So you can see what it is, so you don't, at least you'll know what to expect if you should go to buy this kind of paper. Seems to me like there's a lot of fooling around with, now you see here how, here's the wet on wet business, and why I sometimes just love to do it. This is going to be the little body of water. But see how, you know how once we put mountains in, sometimes we'll use the side of our brush and we'll make what's happening here. It looks like trees up there. It's spread into the bit of wet that was on top, and creating what looks like distant trees, which is great, because that's exactly what I was, you know, going for here. So in this particular case, what's going on here is good. That hasn't got anything to do with the paper. That's because it's called wet on wet. Okay, so we've got so you see already I've got all this. This is going to be great, this paper, for not wet on wet, but it's obviously not so good for wet on wet, and I will be absolutely letting them know it's not the cheapest paper out there. So, God, doesn't that irk you when that kind of thing happens? It's like just a bunch of people out there talking out of their hats. Oh, that's irking. It really irks me, folks. Okay, so we're gonna just keep these Try not to add too much water on it because I'm going to be spraying it, as I had said. Oops, I grabbed purple. I thought I had, well, that's okay. That's quite all right, actually. It's not a problem. All these colors putting into something is, I'm going to mix the green with that purple, and then I'll get this nice darker color here, which is fine. And I just want to get some darker colors in there. Wow, what a disappointment. I was really hoping. And it says 300 GSM, 140 pound. Seems like the story of my life lately, buying something and it's not what it's worth. Sorry to be so negative, folks. I'm just a tad bit disappointed right now. All right, we're gonna... One thing I could have done was use less water first time around. It just kind of dawned on me. So anyway, what I'm going to do is use less water in this particular situation here. So I'm going to put some colors together. And what I did was I came over here and on the sides and added some trees, some tree trunks. And then I did the same thing on the other side. I don't want to add a lot of water. And I'm just pulling down. They're coming down a little bit as we come down the page. And these will all spread a little because it's still a little bit wet. Now, you can utilize things like this because, like I said, it almost gives a texture. So we're going to see, not planned, but we're going to see, kind of see how this plays out here. All right, I'm going to come over here, and what I did was I added, with my round brush here, I now have a round brush, and I'm adding in some, you know, to these tree trunks. I'm putting in the trees on the sides, darker a little bit on the inside there, towards the page, towards the side of the page. And then I'm going to work off the paint, basically with a tad bit of water. Work off the paint, and it'll get kind of lighter and lighter as I go down. But I don't, wait a minute, before I do that, I want to get to the, and then what I did was I added some yellows to the side that I wanted to be lighter. Wow. I'll be absolutely sending these people a message. Wow. Unbelievable. Not at all what I expected. I waited quite a while for this too, and it even was a problem in the delivery. I mean, I'm telling you today, you just can't, you can't expect anything in these orderings and stuff to work out right. It's insane. I just don't know what's going on. But as I said, we are going to keep going because I've started it, so I'm just going to keep going with this stuff. In my reviews, you know, when you give the reviews in the Amazon reviews, I'll certainly will be putting how it really isn't at all what I expected. So what I'm just adding to the light sides here, and then adding some more like that. And then I'm going to add some yellow again. when I spray it, it will all, you know, kind of mix together, which turns out to be just really pretty. All right, and then I'm gonna take a little bit darker here, and we're gonna just need to add some other color there, kind of like a. We need a darker something, just kind of dark to line this side. This is very simple, but anyway, to line the side of the water here. And then what I did was I took some more greens. Actually, I want to add some white to that. And I came down here, and I sort of, like this was some bushes and trees that are sort of, you know, in front of this bunch of water here, this body of water. I just sort of added some things like this, bushes and so forth. And then I actually went in with some yellow ochre and some lemon yellow, and I kind of did something like this. And I took some orange and I added that in with it all as well. Indication of, you know, different trees within the bunch of trees. Okay. So it gave it some nice color, and I actually did that up here as well. Kind of added in some orange. And then what I did, I kind of gave some shadow to the underneath the trees here with whatever color I had for dark. So I just sort of gave it some, whoop, that came out a little too, I didn't want that much. You can't take this out very well either. It just lifts the paper. Oh my goodness. Okay, well, sorry folks. Well, but at least we see it together. I mean, that's, you know, kind of good in a way, because kind of lets you know what this paper is all about. And then you do this because that kind of gives some indications of some trunks in the distance, you know. Just let the color just kind of come off. Add it to the bottom as well, so you can see, you know, you got some tree trunks on the bottom here. And I'm not being super careful at all. I'm being quite loose. And then down here, I just swished, I took some burnt sienna, some sepia, some green, and I really just kind of I wisped it because this is right in front. So I just flicked a bunch of colored stems and so forth, and grass, and then I took my colors and I darkened up the ground, you know, under it, because it would be. And then I put some more paint on my brush and I flipped it around some more, adding some light and some dark. And then I actually did that on the other side. So actually what we can do is put in some darker color first. Either way, I mean, you can do the flicking of the stems first, or you can do the ground first. Either way, it doesn't really matter. Okay, just sort of give us some highlighted areas, pull some colors out here and there for highlights, which this paper's not working very well for either. Oh. Well, what I'll have to do for the rest of this, I have 2 pads, believe it or not. What I'll have to do with this is I have watercolor grounds. So for the rest of the papers, before I use them, I'll cover the surface with watercolor grounds. I usually do like 3 or 4 in an evening, and that way, you know, it's good the next day. What a disappointment. All right, and then we're gonna come over here. I'm just gonna keep going though, because I want to show you this. You know what? This isn't the brush I guess I want. So let's go to yeah, well, I guess it's the paper. Okay, well. That's what you get for trying. Well, this is anyway, it's not, I didn't buy high quality paper. So I should say that in the first place. This is not high quality paper. This is for these little exercises here I do for the YouTube channel. So number one, there's the main reason. But sometimes you can get some watercolor paper that isn't all that bad, even though it's not very expensive. But not this one. Okay, so I'm just flicking out branches. And what I did also, trying to find my dark green, but then I took some white and I lightened up a lot of it with the white. This is all watercolor. I'm not using any other kind of medium at the moment, just the watercolor. All right, and then what I did was I took some colors, like I took this alizarin crimson first, just the color of itself, not any other color in it, and I just dabbed it. And I'm not using any water right now, extra water. The brush is a little damp, and I'm putting on these colorful flowers for right now, because I can't really do much else with the water on this paper. Okay, and then I went into the white, and I wanted to have, you know, the lighter side, so went like this. And then, you know, and then I got a little bit of the white and the color crimson, and I diluted it. I lightened it with a white, and then I added some lighter ones, you know, like they're in the background or something like this. And I went into some orange, and I did some orange ones. And I went into the yellow, and I added yellow ones. So in other words, I just got a whole bunch of, and then a red. I just have like a patch of a bunch of little colored flowers here, which I thought was so pretty. All right, so we just do that, and then we'll do that on the other side as well. Nothing, you know, super specific going on here. Oops, hopefully I'm not moving this out of here. Okay, and then came over here, and I added some over here. I just chose the red to start with instead. Crimson. Dab in some white. give one side a little bit lighter. Bring it down, you know, once you've got some on your brush, bring it down, add it to the background. It's a little lighter now, so it looks like there's some, you know, to the background of all of it. So that's works good that way. And then we will go into some of the purple again, and add the purples. Then we'll add the yellows. Pretty much the same as the other side. And then what we're going to do when I'm finished doing this, is what we're going to do is we're going to let it dry just a tad, which by the time I get to everything, it will be. And then I took some of the green and lightened it with a little bit of blue. And over some of the mountain areas here, I just wanted little, you know, dabs of what looks like, you know, trees in the distance here, coming up and down the hill, like that. And then I went back in and dabbed some to give some lighter ones and some darker ones. So, you know, they look like they're, then I came over here and I kind of did the same thing. Added some darker ones and some lighter ones. Added some yellow in there. All right, and actually I want to come back here to this darker. I wanted to get some of the tree trunks to be just a bit darker. Okay. And then what did I do? Okay, so see, I don't have to add up here because it did it itself. It spread upwards and gave the effect of these little pieces of paper. I was just trying that. We can get off after. We just brush them off, but you know, that's fine, but it's not at all what I had in mind. But sometimes you can make things work for yourself. There we go. So I'm going to, whoops, my coffee in the way here. I have a lap full of coffee. Get some water and just sort of dab out some areas here. Not too many, because I've got something specific in mind to do here. But we're dabbing some spots here and there in hopes that I can create what I'm trying to from the first time. Certainly making it a lot harder though with this paper. All right. So what I'm going to do is, well, you know what I need to, I know that a few times I had to go into like the orange and then add it again, because when I spray the spray, I'll have, you know, these areas that are just kind of poking out a little bit, you know, popping out a little more. Even though it becomes impressionistic, there will still be a few little areas with the brighter orange or the brighter yellow, or, you know, something to that effect. So it just needs a couple of the areas with some darker pigment. So that's what I'm doing. And then you'll see what I'm talking about once I do the spraying. Hang in there, folks. Hopefully it's not too boring for you. Okay. All right. And I think probably maybe a few little dabs. This is a pretty red. Obviously this is kind of like a fall with some pretty red areas, you know, reds in the trees and so forth. All right, and then I took some yellow ochre and I sort of dry scraped it in some areas, which is a little harder to do with this paper, but we can do it. Just for some other yellow. Whoops, 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 whoops. Okay. Didn't, well, that could be a darker green, I suppose. Okay. Wow. I'll be definitely adding watercolor greens. It's not even letting me without a lot of water. And of course, when I put more water, I get all this paper coming up. Oh, my, 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 my. All right. I'm hoping this is going to turn out as light as some of the other, in the areas as some of the other ones, but we won't know until I do the spraying. All right, I'm not going to put any more color because this is really difficult to work with. All right. So this is, you know, kind of what it looks like. This is kind of what it looks like. This is what it looks like before I spray it. And it's pretty much dry now. I mean, you know, dry enough. So I'm going to take my water bottle here. I keep getting these notifications. I forgot to shut them off. And I am going to very lightly, I don't know if you can see it, lightly spray. I don't want too much water going on. And I really don't want much water at all for the sky. I didn't want to, you know, change that too much. Just a little, but not too much. So standing way far back, I'll spray that again. And then I just sort of picked it up and moved it around a little bit so things will move a little. Hoping not to go out of the camera here. Pick it up, move it around. I want to keep this, each object where it is, but I'm trying, but what I want to do is just give it that impressionistic look by once it all, you know, once this all kind of gets into the paper, it's going to cause the, it's going to move it. It's moving right now, but without my even moving it. So what I'm going to do, excuse me a minute, what I'm going to do is I'm going to let that all happen, and I'm going to pause this video and wait till it's actually finished doing that. And I'm going to move it around a little bit. First, I'll move it around with you first. A little too much there, so just dab it out. Because like I said, I don't really want to change the objects in this. I just want it to do the impressionistic, or yeah, kind of impressionistic, I guess you would call it. Everything is a bit blurred and it lightens up a little bit. It's already happening. If you can see it, I'm not quite sure. Maybe when you're watching it, you can zoom in. So what I'm going to do is pause you, and as soon as this is dry and it stopped doing that, when it stopped moving around and doing its thing, which is what watercolor does, so that it becomes less defined and looks more like this one here, which is what we're doing here, I will turn it back on. So I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so I took a hairdryer and I tried it to speed it up just a little bit, but I didn't want to, you know, take away the, whoops, the effects of what's happening. So as you can see, things are, you know, a little less defined and more rather blurred, you know. I could spray it again and it would, you know, do that even further. But I like it to get to just about a certain point where it's, I'm going to give that a little bit more, and right over there, and the flowers a little more. I want them to be a little less. And I'm going to let that kind of dry, because I want those to be defined, but a little, especially those trees in the background and the stuff in the background. So once again, I'm going to let that do a little bit of its, the water and paint to do a little bit of what it's doing. And maybe, you know, in slow motion with your own camera or whatever, you can actually kind of watch it do that. But it's drying, and as it dries, it sort of expands everything and causes it to look that fuzzy, blurry kind of look. Yet I can still make out that these are some trees, and these are trees, and these are... So I'm going to pause a second because I want to give this another little dry. And there we have what I was referring to, pretty much the same as this one. And as it dries even more, it will lighten, because as we know, watercolor dries quite light. I put a bit more pigment into this one, so it's not going to dry quite as light as the other one. But, and I also wanted to, I also didn't add quite as much little white areas here and there. So while it's still, you know, becoming, doing its thing, I'm going to add some little areas of whites here and there, because I forgot to do that. And it will just all fade kind of into the background, so to speak, of it all. And when it's completely dry, it will have, you know, a bit more of a lighter look to it. I just had some of the areas with some whitish, you know, faded. So yeah, as that kind of dries, it's just going to get lighter and lighter in color. And I think it's quite a pretty look to it, you know. Like I said, I could have started out, and I'm going to try on the next time around, with less water to begin with, kind of do this whole painting not wet on wet, and see if when I spray, and if the paper works better with less wet on wet, and then spray it, and then try to get that effect with a lot of without the paper. But see, you can just brush it away. It's not like the whole thing's ruined. Just kind of makes it a little weird when you're painting it. But it does kind of give some, you know, texture-y effects, which is kind of cool in its own thing. So all is not a loss for sure. But I thought you might enjoy that, folks. Just a different kind of a thing for the day. Like I said, I did this one the other day, and this is the reference one that I did in a small version that I wanted to, you know, do here. Of course, it always comes out a little different, but what I wanted to show you again here. And this one faded, whoops, I'm sorry. This one, the small one, faded a lot. It got quite light. Where this one's not quite, but I guess about the same, similar. So check it out, folks. You know, watch it from beginning to end. zoom in, zoom out, and all that sort of thing to watch the water and the paints happen. And check out my other tutorials and try it for yourself, for one thing. And also, for the most important, to have a most wonderful rest of your day. Bye for now.